With the Birds' final defensive line veteran hanging up his cleats, the rush to replace BG is underway in Philly. But will Howie go for an aging veteran desperate for a ring, or capitalize on the trade news out of Jacksonville this week as the NFL preparing for a draft day blockbuster? Plus, another key free agent has left the nest, Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. Well, another Eagles legend has officially called it a career, and I know, right now, it's really easy to get lost down memory lane, remembering the storied career of perhaps one of the greatest Eagles of all time. And while getting to BG a little later, I think Howie and the Birds now have a decision to make, as their defensive line gained a lot of new faces this year, but has one glaring hole: a veteran. In fact, right now, Philadelphia's oldest player along the entire D-line is 26-year-old Bryce Huff, leaving me to wonder if a move for the prestigious Chris Long role could yet be in the works. Also in the works, how about the 90K subscriber giveaway and the Zack Baun signed mini helmet, if you can see it right there, giving this away on my next video, which means you have one more shot to go ahead and enter by dropping a like, being subscribed, and leaving a comment right now below on today's show. And of course, here's your PSA, watch out for scammers. Have a lot of people tell me in the comment section of my last video, people with my name but extra letters behind it are replying, "You've won, send me your phone number, give me money for shipping." Do not respond, report those. I will announce the winner of this helmet on my next show. Now right now, you might be asking yourself, Thomas, Philly just signed edge rusher Azeez Ojulari, really the other day. And you're right, Ojulari could be their final edge piece on what is a very young defensive line.
Just, I'm blessed for this opportunity of playing in the National Football League and taking it one day at a time, thanking God, because I could come back from these things and, just keep pushing myself to never give up and just keep trying to work hard every single day and continue to try to take care of my body and just keep pushing myself to improve and get back healthy whenever it happens. And I just try to stay positive with these things,
Although personally, I see both Uche and Ojulari as being the Bryce Huff replacements to compete for his snaps. Mainly because the Birds are actively trying to trade Bryce Huff. Will it get done? I'm not sure, but that's how I see those two edge rushers. I'm talking about replacing Brandon Graham, taking his snaps in 2025 and being that quote-unquote Chris Long player. Which, by the way, when I say BG, Chris Long role, here's what I actually mean. Brandon Graham played 30% of the Birds' defensive snaps each game before he was injured. Nolan and Josh Sweat, they played 50+%. Taking BG's role is not a starting role, but a chance to be the change-up guy with fresh legs late in the game to go ahead and get those pivotal quarterback sacks. And yes, Philadelphia still has Jalen Hunt, they still have Nolan Smith, those are your two probable starting edge rushers, but a veteran presence inside the locker room would not be a bad thing. My first replacement option is the current 38-year-old free agent, Calais Campbell, who, if you remember during last season's trade deadline, was actually linked to Philadelphia before staying in Miami with the hopes of squeaking in with the Dolphins to the postseason. Obviously, he's definitely at the end of his career, but he still had 5 sacks, and most importantly, played in all 17 games last season for Miami. He's one of the greats to never win a ring, so Calais, come to Philadelphia and we'll help you get one. Also, I want to give a massive shout out to the sponsor for today's video, Tester Up. Tester Up lets you earn money by testing apps on your phone, and it's as easy as signing up, choosing an app to test, and then completing the task, which usually are fun games, simple surveys, or easy questions. And it's super simple. Just download the app on your phone, make an account, and then go ahead and get started. And of course, it's completely free. Payouts come within 24 hours, and each app you test can have a payout up to $80. And Tester Up has a 4.2-star rating out of 5 on Trustpilot and has over 1 million users so far. And there's pretty much always a new task or a new app, so you can get started right away and then always have something to go ahead and work on because they keep populating for you to go ahead and earn even more. If you want to go ahead and get started with Tester Up, go down below my description box and click the link to download the app, or there should be a handy QR code somewhere over here, probably right here in the corner of my screen. Scan that with your iPhone, get the app and get started, and let me know in the comment section if you guys have tried Tester Up, if you just did because of my ad, and what you guys are experiencing so far. Massive thanks to Tester Up for sponsoring today's video. The other aging option is 32-year-old Za'Darius Smith. Again, another trade deadline option for Philadelphia last year that ended up going to Detroit and adding 4 more sacks to his 2024 season, bringing his total between the Browns and Lions up to 9. Smith gives you that true edge rusher type player to actually replace Brandon Graham, whereas Calais Campbell can play both inside and outside, but gives you some serious veteran presence. The big question for both of them, though, is the price. There have been rumors of a 1-year, $7 million deal on the table right now in both Miami and with the Chiefs for Calais Campbell. I think Za'Darius Smith would want more, but that's the only big question I have about these two is how much would they actually cost? Now again, Philadelphia clearly likes its current youth movement, especially on defense, as with BG gone, the Birds only have 4 players on their roster over the age of 30. 2 of those are actually on special teams. Compare that to, say, division rival the Washington Commanders. They have over 10 players currently over the age of 30 and 5 more who will turn 30 by the end of next season. I mean, I have to be honest, right now the trend is to not add an aging vet, so maybe it's not in Howie's cards. Which, if you're one of those people who's saying, Thomas, we don't need a 38-year-old Calais Campbell, we don't need a 32-year-old Za'Darius Smith, well, then you might like the trade news coming out of Jacksonville this week. as former #1 overall draft pick and, wait for it, UGA player Travon Walker is reportedly on the trade block, which is kind of odd because he's a very good pass rusher, but when you look at Jacksonville currently in a massive rebuild, not wanting to pay him a massive contract at the end of next season is clearly why they want to move the former first-rounder. And to tie it to Philadelphia, multiple NFL sites have suggested Walker as a draft day trade target for Howie and the Birds, saying, again, he's a former UGA guy and has a relatively cheap fifth-year rookie option next season. And I like this idea for a couple of reasons. One, the trade price is not a first-round draft pick, and instead could be as simple as 2 second-rounders, which is very easy for Philadelphia to do. Second, he does want an extension, but wouldn't demand quite the amount that a Myles Garrett or Trey Hendrickson would, as he only logged 10.5 sacks in each of the past 2 years. So in theory, Philadelphia could trade, not a first-round draft pick, for Josh Sweat-type numbers, give him a contract in the same area as Josh Sweat, but get somebody who is 3 years younger than Josh Sweat. Now, obviously, the contract extension is the main issue here. Like, would Philadelphia, who's been pretty frugal so far in free agency, be willing to give him an extension? I'm not so sure. But I think the fact that the Eagles very clearly did make a run at safety Justin Reed, who got a pretty big bag last week, indicates that they believe they still have some money to spend. And there's been a ton of mock drafts over the past couple of days, having the Jacksonville Jaguars take Abdul Carter or take another edge rusher at number 3 overall, which I think were to happen on draft night in round 1, then the trade phone calls will start to go ahead and come into Jacksonville to try to move Travon Walker to go ahead and get a second-round draft pick on day 2. I'm curious y'all's thoughts about the trade down below in the comments section. Like, obviously, it's not going to happen today or tomorrow. As I said, you would need the Jaguars to take an edge rusher at 3 and then try and trade Travon Walker later on in the draft. He doesn't necessarily answer the you need an aging veteran question I posed earlier, but he's 24 years old, 10.5 sacks the past 2 seasons, a UGA Bulldog, come on. There's a lot of ties here to Philadelphia. Now staying with Jacksonville, and the Birds officially lost offensive tackle Fred Johnson to the Jaguars today on a 1-year deal, removing one of the better swing tackles in the NFL from the Birds roster. Johnson, of course, played sparingly, but his best work was the Birds' road matchup against the Bengals when the offense scored 37 points and Trey Hendrickson was locked up the entire time. I expect Philadelphia to now add a backup tackle at some point this offseason. My guess is the draft, but keep an eye out for another move. Oh, and the funniest story of the day is the fact the Packers officially submitted their proposal to ban the Tush Push, citing player safety and, wait for it, pace of play as their main gripes. Now, obviously, I've already covered the fact that Tush Push caused 0 injuries in the league last year, according to the league's own report, but does anyone doubt that even if they were to ban the brotherly shove and the act of pushing a quarterback forward, that Jalen Hurts still couldn't convert like 90% of 4th and 1s going forward? Also, while we're here, Philadelphia submitted a rule change request of their own this morning, wanting the playoff overtime rules of both teams possessing the football at least once to be the same in the regular season. Personally, I'm impartial to this. I don't think it's the worst idea, maybe not the best, but give me your thoughts below. Now, circling back to Brandon Graham, I want to give a massive shout out to Howie Roseman because people tend to forget Roseman's first ever draft pick as the Eagles GM was in fact BG, who, as you know now, officially ended his Eagles career at the Novacare Complex yesterday in a way that only BG could. Flanked by the 2 Super Bowl trophies he helped bring to Philadelphia, dapping up media members, he was always so generous with his time, and emotionally thanking the city that gave him a career of a lifetime.
Y'all know I gave everything I had in this. And I don't have no regrets. That's one thing I tell them young boys. Don't have no regrets. And so, first I just want to say, 15 years ago, I walked into this city as a young man with dreams, big dreams, a little bit of nervousness, and a whole lot of fire in my heart. I had no idea back then what this journey would bring. I didn't know how many times I would be tested. I didn't know how much I would grow. And I surely didn't know how deeply I would fall in love with these fans and the team in this city. Today, as I sit here, I just want to thank God because I know He was the main reason. You know, that was the biggest thing. I love my growth, my relationship with Him, and just so much that I've shared with my teammates and reflecting on a career that has meant everything to me. I am overwhelmed with gratitude. My entire life has been forever changed because of this magical place.
The once labeled first-round bust, who suffered through a torn knee early on in his career and an Achilles later down the road, will go down as one of the all-timers in Philadelphia. During his career, BG tied or owns the outright franchise records for the most seasons as an Eagle, the most regular season games played, and the most sacks in a single playoff run in Philadelphia. BG also finishes second in franchise history in forced fumbles, third in regular season sacks, and obviously a 2-time Super Bowl champion and the owner of perhaps one of the greatest plays in franchise history. But most importantly, I think BG leaves a legacy of leadership. He took on that role of mentor for so many young players throughout his career and always did things the right way. It's crazy to me that the famed core 4 in Philadelphia is down to just 1 in Lane Johnson, but instead of being sad it's over, I'm just happy it happened. And not only that BG helped win Philadelphia its first Super Bowl, but I think he played a monumental role in setting up the Birds' now new defensive line for hopefully many Super Bowls to come. Now, while the BG press conference was going on, I saw a lot of Jason Kelce hate on my Twitter timeline yesterday, as people were very quick to point out that despite a ton of Birds in attendance for BG's retirement press conference, Jason Kelce was not there. And as I said earlier, he is a member of the aforementioned Core 4, and it was kind of odd he wasn't in the building. My best guess, though, is Jason Kelce is extremely busy and was shooting some commercial or had some ESPN event or was doing what Jason Kelce has done since retirement, and that is be very, very busy. That doesn't excuse him. I'm sure we'll hear why on his podcast in the coming days, but we tend to forget that his wife, Kylie, is 8 months pregnant with their 4th child, so that could always be a factor as well. Simply put, let's give Jason the benefit of the doubt and not go straight to, oh, he hates BG in Philadelphia just because he wasn't there. Now, I personally have met BG twice, once during the interview we did on this channel, which I think was fantastic last offseason. Extremely nice guy, and then I met him in person at Devontae Smith's celebrity softball game. And he's exactly as you see on TV. Extremely nice, extremely generous, treats you as a person. He's not some big celebrity, high and mighty, and I just want to thank him for everything he did in Philadelphia. He really became the Philadelphia Eagle. What Brian Dawkins was in a generation before, I think Brandon Graham turned into the past, decade and a half, and I'm forever grateful for his strip sack in the Super Bowl. That basically sealed the Birds' first ever championship trophy, and all he did, not only the past couple of years, but this past season as a mentor for the young Bird defensive line. Drop a like down below for BG, wish him well in the comment section, and obviously make sure you leave a comment to get entered for the giveaway happening on my next video. Watch out for scammers. I'm Thomas Mott, hanging out here on a Wednesday. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.